Hi everybody, in this video I have three guest players joining me from the Imperial Assault Skirmish community. Morgan, Ben, and Joey are joining me to share their experiences playing in the Season 5 Playtesting League as well as their overall experiences with Season 5 and IACP. They've played quite a few games during the Playtest League and have quite a lot to share. Unfortunately, at the beginning of this video, my laptop microphone was not picking up my voice, so I'll be recording some of these intros separately to the different sections. Thankfully, my three guests did most of the talking during that time, and I didn't have to do that much talking at all, so not much was missed. Anyway, I just wanted to share with everybody that the Season 5 tournament dates for online tournaments have been posted. So definitely go check those out if you are interested in playing in some online Imperial Assault skirmish play. For competitive play, go to ia-continuityproject.com. The tournament dates have been posted there. All right, so here are my guests. They're going to be introducing themselves and talking about Season 5.
I'm Joey Galezeski. I've been playing Imperial Assault now for 4 years or so. I've gone to Worlds, been to a bunch of regionals. I've placed decently as well. And outside of that, I'm just fairly boring guy. Just I'm the board game guy, and that's my shtick and with people I know.
This is Ben Bran.
I'm doing pretty well. I started Imperial Assault right after it came out, early 2016. I think it came out, December 2015. Met up with some friends there in Phoenix, and we got really into skirmish before campaign. Ended up going to Gen Con and Worlds, and then hit a whole bunch of regionals around the area with Utah and California and stuff like that as well. And then continued to play online.
Sure. Yeah, I'm. You might see me as Master Moj. I've been playing since the Spectre Cell days, and doing a bunch of online stuff.
Yeah, this season was great. Every single release or preview article, I was just more and more excited, and then didn't know what I actually wanted to test first off because everything looked better and better. And then I saw Dr. Afra and was like, whatever. Turns out she's one of my favorite figures now. I'm not sure where else to go on that besides I was super excited to be in the season, and I got a lot of super interesting games, especially up front with HK and mirror matches where every single figure on the board was bleeding. Never seen that many bleeds in my life. And been down to late games where I was playing with a ton of generals ranks, and then also with Dr. Afra with her droids. Yeah, I'll pass that off, I guess.
I went into it. I'm normally an Imperial player at heart, but I like to say that I've swapped away from that. I'm more of a brawler person at heart. For most of the playtesting league, I was doing either Rebel brawlers or Wookiee lists with a bunch of Wookiee warriors, and I just kind of did those repeatedly. I didn't test out a whole bunch of stuff. I ran some stuff with like Mara and Kallus, a little bit of Iden, but for the most part, I despise scum, and so I kind of stay away from them. But some of the things at the start of the playtesting season definitely needed tweaks, and that's why we have the playtesting season. But everything now is looking to be fantastic, and I'm really excited for the tournament season.
All right. So yeah, it's this season more than the other ones has felt like a bit more like organized, and I think it's really like having the plan from the get-go about like what specific time things are going to roll out and things like that has just given it a needed structural improvement. And so like I felt like it was really awesome. I felt like the figures that came out did a really good job at expanding some of like the not as used traits like droid and creature. So it was really fun getting to try out some lists and see something other than hunters. And I tried a lot of I think General's Ranks has been my favorite card so far. So I tried a lot with like Wampas, and I tried some with E-Webs that didn't work out so well. And I tried it with ATDPs and ATSDs, and just had a lot of fun with that. And as we started going towards competitive stuff, I've started just tweaking old list archetypes by like adding in other newer stuff. Like I'll talk about it a bit later, but I've added Cassian to a smuggler box and have had some good success with that.
Okay. Well, I say I know other stuff besides like General's Ranks. I was super not impressed with Iden when I first saw her, and then I got super excited the more and more I used her. She's now almost an auto include for Imperial lists for me, which is a little bit silly. She's just always effective, always around.
Yeah, she's really strong.
I mean,
I
she's
sort of feel like,
basically
oh yeah,
she's basically the only real Imperial sniper if you think about it. So she's pretty great.
Oh, that's true.
Troopers. Am I a joke to you?
What? Who?
Scout Troopers.
Yes, they are a joke.
I have a place in my heart for Scout Troopers. It's not a very big place or a competitive place, but it is a place. Yeah, I feel like it seems like every season there have been like figures that don't look too great, like just with their dice and surges, and then but they have something else, like whether it's like added damage or added pierce or added tokens, and it's sort of like, oh, actually you're getting that like consistently, and it really ramps up their attack. I feel the same way about Cassian. Like Cassian, blue, green. It's like, okay, it's just a focused ranger without the pierce. But then he's like always got damage tokens on him, right, from the get go. So actually, it's more like a focused ranger. But he also gives damage tokens to other people, and he can get extra attacks, and he can attack like anyone, anywhere, right? And he's a spy. So like Iden's sort of the same way. There's just like, oh yeah, that like +2 that she's getting from her token really adds up.
Yeah, Cassian, he's been thoroughly interesting to play against all season. I think my favorite experience, I was on the receiving end of this, was Cassian with Chewbacca, and there was Jared in the list. And so opening round, they went around, Cassian came in, fired, and then fired again by sacrificing Jared's droid. And then that reactivated Chewbacca because now a figure had been lost in that first round. Super entertaining to see, but it hurt a lot.
Love to see it.
Yeah, so that was a fun combination with Cassian. I've seen a lot of people play Cassian all the time. Although very few, I don't think I've seen him running with Junk Droid or anything like that.
Yeah. Any hot takes, guys?
A couple. I mean, ignoring the assassination card, we're going. I would say, I think the Wampa is ridiculously strong with Lion Ambush right now.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
Oh, maybe not a hot take, controversial opinion then. Like I worry he's like, without Lion Ambush, I feel like he's pretty well balanced, but with Lion Ambush, you're probably already taking some other creature. He's just gonna walk through lists from the back line.
I have not seen it. It sounds scary though.
Yeah, we should play a game. I'll run my Rancor and Wampa with IG and whatever else I decide to bring. It does not matter at that point, honestly.
Love it. I also think the Heavy Trooper makes an excellent line ambush target. The Imperial Heavies, because the line ambush is free, and you can call the Vanguard as well with it and get like basically 5 attacks that are unanswerable if you time it right.
I haven't seen that. That sounds scary.
Man, I'm just thinking, it's like I don't really experiment with stuff. I do a list and I just kind of hone that list. Now I feel bad.
Oh, yeah, you got to have all sorts of fun. Like General's Ranks with Tusken Raiders was surprisingly effective. Um, very surprisingly effective for me when I saw it, or actually ran around it a couple times. Like 3 or 4 Tusken Raiders attacks taking down Boba Fett before he really did much. Type effective.
Nice.
Yeah, you get the-
I threw general's ranks on a bantha once, and I was kind of abusing it before some rules clarifications came out, because it's like, oh, move effectively twice, because first it's spaces and then it's movement points, so that's 2 unblockable damage.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess this isn't a super hot take, but I felt like before they adjusted both Afra and Under Duress, like they were kind of like ripe for abuse and kind of broke. So I'm
Very
glad
much
they
so.
changed. I don't know how hot of a take that is, but like I was happy to see Strain come in. Like I'm still very happy to see Strain being in competitive archetype, but like I also was just like not having any of it seeing Under Duress in every list to start.
I don't know. I didn't find Under Duress overly strong there at the start, but I mean, I saw a lot of it, but I didn't feel overly strong. Afra, though, was beating on me like crazy before the changes to her over the course of the season. And a lot of that was just her shooting, much less her abilities.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know how much the Dr. Afra was a hot take.
I'll give you a hot take. I think that elite Wookiee warriors were good even before Fury of Kashyyyk. And that with Fury of Kashyyyk, they're top tier figures.
Is a hot take.
I mean, they were definitely great at tanking lots of damage.
I think they're strong. I don't think they're good in the current map rotation. And I tried him out after get my butt handed to me, and by you actually, Joey, because I'm like, I gotta try these Wookiees. I gotta try this Wookiee stuff out. And I was playing on the Krykna map.
Oh,
and
that's a bad map.
Yep. And I got strat shifted, and I had initiative and got strat shifted round 1. And then my opponent basically just shot a couple Krykna and just waited in his deployment zone. And then when I finally made it out, he made 4 dodges in a row with Luke, and the game ended with zero kills. It was 0-8, and I'm like, I hate this map, and I am never playing Wookiees in this map rotation again.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
That was rough. Yeah, the Krykna map is big. It's a big map.
It's not good.
It's big, and the objectives cost too much effort for how few points they provide, and I will stick by that it is a terrible scenario.
This is my hot
and they also
take.
their damage stacks up pretty quickly too if you don't take care of those objectives.
My hot take is Upper Base has been the worst map, the worst map since Lothal Blitz or Lothal Wasteland. That's my hot take.
Oof. I mean, Lothal hasn't been around hasn't been that long since we rotated off of it. I don't know. Lothal didn't bug me as much as a map. It was nothing like I'm forgetting the name of it now. I'm blanking on it because I hated it that much. The giant open forested map that you could snipe all the way across.
Nal Hutta?
Yes, that's the one. Oh. As long as we don't go back to that, I'm happy.
Oh, I'd take Nal Hutta over Lothal or Chopper Base any day.
Same.
What are the official maps currently for the tournament season? Which are the scenarios?
It's Coruscant, Senate, Office. So it's Palpatine's map and Chopper Base Avalon, and now they've just introduced, or I guess reintroduced, Jabba's Palace.
That's a fun map.
That's
I
a
love
great
that map.
Oh, it's so good.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who doesn't like that map.
That might be true. It leads to some weird line of sight distance stuff if you get into that center area, though, where you could have line of sight around one corner, but then you count distance from the other corner type thing.
Yeah.
We talk about whether the prediction early in the season that the increased number of spies in Season 5 would have an adverse impact on the metagame and see a bad increase in usage of cards like Intelligence Leak and Strategic Shift.
I mean, I saw a lot more people using spies, but that might have just because everybody was trying out different combinations. I don't think I actually saw that many extra spy cards played in any particular list. I think people still built towards one primary attribute, but sometimes people stacked in a little bit of spy just on the side. So I didn't feel like it was overpowered, but I definitely saw more spies around this season.
Joey?
Yeah, when a bunch of spies are introduced, people want to try new stuff. So yeah, I do think that there was a good number of spies. I don't think it was a problem. I don't think it's overbearing. Just that there's now more options for spies, and if people want to splash that in, it's pretty easy to know what's coming.
I feel like, yes, there were lots of spies, but I also feel like a lot of the spies that we saw were shooter spies. So like Cassian and Iden and stuff, figures you don't really want to be playing strat shift with anyway, because you want to use both their actions for moving and shooting. So yes, there were lots of spies. No, I didn't feel like it took over the meta. Like I felt like at the beginning that it was more strain spam than spy spam that I was seeing a lot of. So I certainly don't think that we're at like a spy spam meta right now.
In this section, we talk about the selection of maps that was used for the Playtesting League and the random map picker wheel that Chris made.
I love the mapper wheel. It's great. I love seeing all the different extra maps. There's a ton that normally don't see play because people tend to stick to the tournament maps. Let's see. I happened to draw Chopper Base Adelon a lot and ended up doing a lot of rerolls off of that map because I didn't want to see it for a bit. Let's see. Favorite map that I hadn't really played much was ISB Training Grounds, I think it was. Not the headquarters, which is the one everybody normally thinks of. It was entertaining. There's a lot of objective play on it, surprisingly, but you have to sit around holding objectives, but they're spread around. It was different. See, old maps that I saw that I really enjoyed seeing again was actually Jabba's Palace, so I was thrilled when that made it back into the rotation. And also Novinian Warzone. That was still fun. With all the doors, although I didn't play against Blaze with him shooting the doors, thank goodness. Let's see. Yeah, Chopper Base Adelon. I just saw way too much of that map. That might make it down there for one of my less favorite maps currently. I'll pass it off here.
I enjoyed the picker wheel, although for some reason it did seem to pick some of the more common it seemed like it didn't feel fully random because it kept coming up with a bunch of the same ones, in my opinion. That's just my experience. I thoroughly enjoy seeing different maps. I like the random factor that it adds in that you can't really plan your list around what the map rotation is, and so that you kind of have to make a generalized list, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I would say that the favorite one for me that popped up would probably be probably oh, the Uskru Entertainment District, the one where you have to sit on the crates and just hold them for lots of points.
Nice. I mean, I didn't really come into the competitive skirmish until after Nalhada Borderlands had been out. So I was actually really enjoyed that map when I played it a couple of times. So it was my first couple times playing on it, and it was fun. I got to play Coruscant back alleys, and that felt like greeting an old friend. So I enjoyed that. I got to play Training Ground against Joey, and that one didn't feel very good. And yeah, but I like the map wheel, and I like the provision that if there's a map that neither of you want to play, you just pick another one.
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was a great thing. Seeing more maps is always a great thing.
Yeah. Oh, I also really liked Coruscant Landfill. In fact, I've adopted it as one of our map rotation in our local meta, just because it's fun and a bun shooting at the Dianoga.
It's funny hearing you talk about it. I remember some of these maps from the different rotations, and there's definitely some, I don't want to say bad feelings for all of the maps, but some bad experiences I heard repeatedly about some of the maps. Like Dianoga, it turned into a sniping fest, knocking him off real quick. But if you didn't have a list that could do that, then you were in trouble.
Oh, remember that was the trooper meta, and troopers have a difficult time doing anything to the Dianogas, so yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely high damage output. The faster you could onto them, the better. And
But
it was
not
a fun
too
map,
much.
though.
You can't let your opponent kill it.
That's true. That's true. He counts as a figure, though, so you could do assassinate and a couple other things, right?
I think he's still an object.
Yeah, he's an object.
He's an object. Okay. It's been a while since I played that map. Novinian Warzone, or not Novinian Warzone, the now Hutta, when you're talking about that one, oof. I definitely had bad experiences with being sniped by a ranger from one deployment zone all the way basically to the other deployment zone before they could activate. And I just haven't lived that down.
Yeah, I played that one with a double ATDP list.
Yikes.
And it was hard getting out of the deployment zone, but once I was out, and just sitting on the objectives, it was fun and a bun.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised I heard Joey say that he enjoyed the Uskru Entertainment, because those doors can be brutal if you're running lists that have like Vader and riots.
It was a nice breath of fresh air where, yeah, the doors can impede you, but they also kind of provide cover, or you can be aggressive and go for points that get you closer to your opponent. But it's just it was some. It's nice when you're not being spammed by weak way hunters. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like East Crew.
Okay. Any other maps that stood out, I guess, that you wanted to go back and see again?
I love the ISB headquarters, and I know it just recently came out of rotation, but that's still one of my favorite maps, and so is Jabba's. And so, since that one's in, it's like that's great. And getting back to ISBs is always fun as well.
I think Mos Eisley back alleys is one that is just like an old favorite, and being able to play that again wouldn't turn that down.
Always stresses me out. Whether I'm on the top side or the bottom side, it doesn't matter. Having to seek cover and take shots, like I spend way too much time that first turn on that map just for positioning. And although the objectives are worth a lot, I don't necessarily I don't know. I try to run them, but they're hard. They're hard to run into that little side area.
well, everyone's out in the open, right? Like, yeah, there are a lot of points, but like, it's, you go for them and you don't quite make it, like you're gonna get shot.
Yeah, unless you have some movement shenanigans from like rebel smugglers or something like that, you're going to be sitting out there taking hits. Yeah.
One thing that so the other side of the Coruscant landfill has like all kinds of boxes in the landfill part, and they're each worth 4 victory points. And that was I saw that I'm like, wow, that's like I'm so used to having like 1 victory point control points, right? Like or like shoot something 3 times to get 8 to get 2 victory points, and now it's just like nope, pick up a box and bring it back. You don't even have to interact to drop it off, and it's 4 victory points.
Yeah, I miss maps that have good objective play where you can earn 2 or more points off of doing objectives.
Yep, that's why Jabba's palace is so great.
It's funny, almost every time I play Jabba's Palace, for whatever reason, I just don't end up playing the grab the crates. It's the one that's hold the crates, where you just have to stand on top of them.
Yep.
Yeah, grab the crates. I mean, I find grab the crates ends up just being a big shoot 'em up. Mostly because like very few people want to sacrifice that movement.
I love grabbing those crates and losing all my movement on a figure, slowly walking him towards the second crate. That way he can stand still because he's got too many crates.
Yep. Also, that mission can be known as, Ezra's Paradise. It's like, I'm going to be moving 4 anyway.
I don't think I've ever played Ezra on that map.
I did, and he just got shot. I thought he was safe, and he just got like 1 shot. I'm like, oh, man.
I think both games I played on Jabba's Palace this season broadly when I was playing a gimmicky double ATST list with the general's ranks, 2 lead officers, and Soren with his advanced comms. And both times just opened the door and just waited for people to open the other door and then blew away figures on the other side. Like I think I took out first game was I ended up losing by objectives to Wookiees. It was 2 sets of Wookiee warriors, Garkin, Mara Jade, who I've seen a lot of this season, and then various support, and ended up taking out Garkin with ATSTs before he even activated. And then the Wookiee warriors just came back and just tanked all my shots, and were able to get enough objective points.
That sounds about right.
Any other last thoughts about maps? Other than map picker is good.
Yeah, I hope we keep using it.
I agree. I hope we keep using it. It's great. Let's see. What's our next section?
Do we want to go on to season progression?
I think we sort of covered progression of updates, unless we want to like talk more, because I know we talked a little bit about how there was a lot of Afra and strain spam to start with. I guess we hadn't really. What else changed? It was Wookiees and strain. Yeah,
guys hear me?
go ahead. Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe talk about the Fury of Kashyyyk and some of the other changes.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk on the Fury of Kashyyyk one, since I would probably say I played at least 8 games with that upgrade in the playtesting season. When it first came out, I was adamant that it was broken, and that might have just been my experience, but it was very much so true, because like, oh, they get reach and pierce, Like that's enough of an upgrade itself. And then if you get attacked hard enough, you also get focused, and they're really beefy units, so you can get it off pretty reliably. So when it first came out, it's like, oh, you get reach, you get pierce for just being an elite Wookiee, and if you have a friend, it's pierce too, just on every attack, which was utterly absurd, and it needed nerfing, which they did, which was good. The exhaust version of it, or it wasn't an exhaust. Did it go from exhaust, or was it just the limit once per group? I can't remember.
It was the once per group.
It was the once per group. That was a pain to track because like you've got parting blows, dying lunges, and it was a pain to track. And the newest version, I don't think I've played with it. Now it's just Pierce 1 for other Wookiee, right?
Yes.
I think that's a good state for the card, to be honest. Like that's right. You got to have that teamwork, but it's still a strong card even if you don't get that extra Pierce, because focus is strong and reach just extends your threat range, which as a melee figure you kind of need.
I agree. It was really, really strong at the start. Watching him pierce 2 pretty consistently against those ATSTs was sad. I think it's still pretty strong, honestly, as a card. Maybe not overpowered, but pretty strong, especially since you can do something like lie in ambush on a set of Wookiees, and that's the skirmish upgrade, but it's not an attachment, so they can still take advantage of it and then be in your face with it. Yeah, I think it's a great card now. It was definitely too strong at the start.
Yeah. Ooh, sorry. I just wanted to, because one thing that I always forget to think about, but we had sort of like a surprise rebalancing of costs at the beginning of, or like right at the beginning, that sort of felt like it was after all the preview articles. I know Jedi Luke went down 1, and the ATSD went down 1, and Biv and Zuckuss and Dengar got cheaper. What do you guys think about that? About those point reductions?
I played with all of them with the exception of Luke. So I don't have an opinion on Luke, but everybody else I definitely have opinions on. On the most part, I think it's all good, though. Pretty enjoyable. I love the ATST. By far, the most games I played this season were with the ATST. I feel like just that. I think the ATST was probably okay. Maybe a controversial opinion there. 1 point more expensive than it currently is. But having that 1 extra point means it's now part of a list as opposed to the central piece of a list. Which
agreed
is
on
nice.
both points.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just agreeing. You go ahead.
Yeah, for say Zuckuss and Dengar, I have seen those two paired up quite a bit over the season for just for stun stacking, which is effective. They're intimidating because they can keep stunning your figures. I don't know if they were overly intimidating because of the damage output, but they were definitely effective in just keeping lists locked down. So I think that there was a good cost drop on both of them. Yeah, who's the last one?
Biv.
Luke.
Oh,
Luke and Biv.
Yeah, so Luke I didn't do. Biv, I'm okay with Biv going cheaper too. He just wasn't seen play. I think he was decent before at 8. I honestly think he was fine at 8, but hopefully we'll see him more at 7.
So another card that I would want to talk about that changed was HK47. I think you guys were talking about him before we started recording. Yeah, so what about HK47? He changed a lot during the season, and I think Afra was another one that changed a lot. So you guys want to talk about those?
Sure. I'll start with HK since that's the first one you went to, and I'm sure there'll be lots of discussion on Afra. HK, my current opinion of him is I don't like him, actually. I don't find him super effective. His abilities are interesting, and I like playing with him, but I don't know if he'll be making it into a lot of my lists currently. At the start of the season, he had that choose between 2 damage or become bleeding, and almost everybody was choosing just become bleeding. I think I don't think anybody chose the 2 damage, because they could choose whether to take it as damage or a strain, basically. Or did lead to some interesting matches where HKs were and Nexus and Vento were stacking bleeds on every single figure on the board, so that way HK could take advantage and start discarding that bleed to cause strain. I don't know how I'd fix him, but I am currently not as thrilled with him in his current skill set. I'll pass that off to whoever wants to talk about HK now.
Joey?
Sure. I did a couple of games with him at the start, back when he was definitely in a way too strong of a position. I really enjoyed the unique ability of the bleeding costing a strain to get rid of. I thought that was nice and unique, and I was kind of sad to see it go because that felt like one of the more unique things to me. But yeah, no, as Ben said, as he stands now, he's okay, but I don't think he's standout as he was. I personally no. Yeah, the new abilities, it doesn't really seem, he just seems like a standalone hunter now as opposed to someone that you specialize the list around, which is not a terrible thing for his points cost at 7.
You had a good statement. He definitely stands solo as opposed to building a list around him now.
I think he's a good supplement to the other droids that Scum has. I just played my league match yesterday against Matt Mayer. And let me tell you, he played what's that droid card that lets you take another action for cost or for health?
Overdrive?
Yeah, overdrive. And suddenly I was like, oh boy, he can move 8 and shoot something and they can't dodge. Oh, that's scary. So I think he's still strong. I think he's not he's certainly not broken anymore. I think he was definitely a big contributor to Strain being overpowered and under duress. But and although the bleed thing was unique, and now it's less so, it is like still being able to just ping somebody off for a strain each turn is kind of nice. It's like a mini choke. And I think he's stronger than maybe you guys give him credit for. But I mean, Scum has a lot of really strong 7-point cost figures to choose from, which isn't bad because variety. But I think he's still like I think he'll still surprise people, particularly if he gets played at all in this tournament, the couple tournaments coming up. Yeah, as far as points decreases to Dengar, Zuckuss, and Biv and the ATSD, I didn't think like they were like they surprised me. Oh, and Luke as well. They surprised me. I didn't think they super duper. I don't think any of them super duper needed it. Like I think that there are probably some other figures that needed it more. And but like I mean, if it gets them played more, sure. I like I don't think any of them at their current point cost is going to break it. But then again, I also haven't seen Kyle play Luke it with an extra point in his deck. So we'll have to see what that's like when that happens.
Where are those other figures you're thinking about that might use it, like that point reduction?
I think Davith for starters.
Yeah.
I tried him out. And I've played with him and against him, and I found that like even like focused and hidden, he does like sort of comparable damage to Mara Jade, but then as soon as you do anything to remove any of those conditions, um, he's just like he hits like a noodle and he dies just as quickly, unless he vanishes. Um, so I think I'd probably rather see him go down a point or have some other changes done to him.
Yeah, Davith was. You can't attack a white die figure with Davith, because otherwise you just won't be able to do it. You'll just be hitting like a limp noodle once you lose your hidden, because it's not great. I'd like to see him just be permanently hidden, but that's just me.
That would be fairly strong. Actually, it kind of segues into another figure that get changed. Myrn. Early on, Myrn was absurd.
Yes.
I was playing a lot of heavy troopers and stuff early on, and single-handedly Myrn would turn around and start wrecking my list with my own figures after moving 8 spaces and then 4 more spaces away. So a figure 12 spaces away from out of line of sight was all of a sudden wrecking my own army. That said, when Myrn flying hidden out on people all the time is great. I love it. I thoroughly love stacking that on Sabs or other figures. I was definitely saved multiple times by range by hiding figures. I'm glad to see that he changed. I think, although people might be disappointed, I do think it still needed the cost in action for him to do that attack or cause somebody to attack. But I love the new Myrn. I think he's a viable support character for Rebels now, especially figure. Yeah. I don't think I ever used his figurehead ability though. I could see it being useful where he takes a strain to prevent damage, but he takes a damage to prevent the strain. I don't think I've ever saw that used during the season, surprisingly.
It's good. Yeah, it's the thing with Myrn is before she was nerfed or rebalanced or whatever, she could do it all, right? She could attack, like she's a strong attacker. She could blow, like she could turn people on each other. She could hide. She could be a solid defensive presence with her ability. Now she can't do all of it at once, and I don't think that's an issue because she's still like, even if you aren't getting full, like I don't think, like most games you play with her, I don't think you'll get to use all of her abilities, and I think that's okay. I think she still get her 4 points of value, regardless of whether you get to use figurehead or whether you get to turn people against each other or whatever. Like I think she's solidly balanced right now.
Agreed.
I'm excited to play with her more at her current state. Let's see. I know Dr. Aphra is still on the list of other figures to touch that were changed a lot. Yeah, early Dr. Aphra was scarily effective at all times. Replaying cards, hitting like a truck. I didn't actually like her initial ability with her droids. I'm glad that got changed over the course of the season. I currently love the fact that the droids have to use their special actions in order to get the extra activation or extra turn or action during their turn. I love it. I love it so much. I'm playing 000 all the time with her just because. I've definitely used more of BT's rocket salvo because of it, but I just don't know if it's very niche that I use is Rocket Salvo for BT, but 000 I use all the time with her, and I'm excited. I think her current standing with the where you can play a card at the beginning of the round works amazingly well with Rule by Fear is Imperials, because then you can have those effects happen simultaneously. You get to put down a card, and then she can pull it back if you want it. I didn't realize that was something that could happen until it was used against me, and I was definitely that's a fun little thing. I might have to try her Imperials now. So prior to that, I've just been running her purely as scum with tons and tons of droids.
Joey?
I kind of preferred the early Afra. I know that she was probably a little too strong, but I don't like the shift from being more of a support figure to more of an attacker who also has an amazing ability. I liked that it cost an action because that pushed her towards being a support as opposed to someone who could do it all, like we were talking about with Mern. The fact that she is like, oh, she's going to move and shoot almost every round because she doesn't have that special action anymore. I think that she is a solid figure. I just don't think that it's I don't think it's I see her as more of a support figure, and taking that special action away just kind of took away from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think as far as I did, I think the main issue with it being something that she could do on her turn is just opened up abuse cases. Like I remember playing her and scoring 9 victory points during her activation. That was just like completely like unstoppable without specifically teching against it. And I was like, oh wow, like I can just do that. And it wasn't even like the most like making it so that you can make somebody discard 6 cards right off the top is there were lots of corner cases, and I don't know them all, but I know that it made for some like really abusable jank that I don't think was competitively balanceable. So although the moving to the starter round has certainly made her more of a shooter with a strong support ability rather than a support figure who probably won't get to shoot. I think it's probably best for the sake of balance. And I do I don't think she's too strong of a shooter to make it so that it I don't think it makes it so that you take her for her shooting. I think if you're taking Afra in a list, you're taking it for her ability first, and then you just being a half decent shooter is just a bonus. And even though she's not like a dedicated support figure, I think that's still probably the case. But anyway, that's all I have to say about her.
I'll just say the main issue we had was with abuse with hostile negotiations, the one where you discard a random card to make them discard 2. So that was the main problem we were seeing with playtesting. Several players had discovered that, and it was not fun, especially when they were playing cards like the ones that let you redraw them, the droid cards. So yeah. But I think, are we ready to move on to the next section?
Sure.
Anything else
are
to
we
say
going to
about?
talk about command cards? Yeah, are we going to talk about command cards at some point? Because
Yeah, let's
a bunch
do,
of those that
let's
came
do
out.
that. Let's take us a 5 minutes to talk about a card I want to get your guys' opinion on, and then let's talk about the command cards. So we were going to talk about like cards that were most commonly seen, but I want to use that to talk about probably the most popular card in season 5 was definitely Mara Jade. We haven't really talked about her yet. So, um, Morgan, do you want to start us off? I'm sure all of you have at least played against Mara Jade during season 5 because she was so popular. Morgan, you had reviewed her with me at the beginning of the season. What are your thoughts on Mara Jade now? And then we can pass it on to Joey and then Ben.
I can see you setting me up because I fully remember having a very strong opinion that like she is absolutely broken and like she'll just get played all the time and every list will have her in it. And I'm gonna admit that I was partially wrong. Um, I think that although she's a strong figure, I don't think that she is overpowered, at least not at the current map rotation. Um, I think she probably sits somewhere like alongside Maul now in that like really strong melee figures, lots of dice, but still limited to being a melee figure with no added movement benefits. So she certainly isn't as strong as I initially thought she would be. I will say though that I have seen a ton of her everywhere, and although part of that's probably the new hotness, I expect we'll still see a bunch of her, um, just because she is a really strong figure that can fit into a lot of lists, and is obviously in every faction.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to set you up there. I actually don't remember you having that strong of an opinion about her, but I just thought it'd be interesting to have you go first since you reviewed her before. But Joey, what do you think about Mara?
I played her a decent amount. She was in my Wookiees list. I kind of had the same thoughts that Morgan had when I first saw her on paper. It's like that's going to be way too strong. But as mentioned, melee figure that still needs to get to the opponent to attack, and once she gets there, she's not the highest health person and still using a white dice, so that can be a figure that doesn't live very long. I really enjoy her. She has solid. She has a great attack, one of the better ones, and rerolls are always nice. It's her flexibility that really lets everyone kind of use her. The fact that she is able to do that, she's able to go into every army because she's a neutral card, and then also because the different traits that she gets. Brawler's just generally a great trait, in my opinion. And the different ones that she gets for each of the factions makes a lot of sense. For Hunter, it's nice to be able to get some more Imperial Hunters, although I really haven't seen any list that's focused in on that Imperial Hunters, which has been kind of sad. Maybe I'll bring that out for tomorrow. Who can say? Um, and then Smuggler goes well with the mercenaries, and Guardian I haven't really. I guess I haven't seen Mara in like Force user lists, so I can't really key in on that. But just that overall flexibility allows her to go in lots of places, and I think she's right where she needs to be, damage wise and effect wise.
Yeah, I saw her a lot. I think part of that is due to her adaptability, and part of it was due to the newness of her. Yeah, Force user and Brawler, they're oddly useful, basically to every army. Um, I saw a lot of her paired with Maul over the season, both Imperial and Scum, which was interesting. Um, I didn't ever find her really overpowered. That 11 health with the white dice, she either was survivable or she went down fast. Usually to a couple shots, sometimes 3. I thoroughly enjoyed her. As often as I saw her, I was never tired of seeing her playing against her. I never felt she was sad to see her on the board at all. I will say I absolutely love her fast learner ability. I saw it a couple times. I even pulled it off once. Her with the Mandalorian to play Whistling Birds, and that's just wrong how effective that can be when you make sure you can get that off, but with one of your figures. Yeah, I love the fast learner ability on her. It's always entertaining, and you have to think about all the different command cards that can get played with it. So you have to be careful around her. I love her as a card.
Yeah, I really like taking her with Chewbacca, because then there are two figures that you can't that can play Chewie's card.
I haven't seen that combination actually.
I haven't either. My go-to for Mara has been with the Royal Guard champion because she uses Flurry of Blades much better than he does.
Well, that's scary.
Very much
That's really scary. Has anybody actually played her command card though?
No.
I played her command card in a VP list. With Afra, actually. It was really funny because I played it and then I picked it up with Afra. So that I'm like, you can attack Mara a second time if you want, but it's going to give me three more victory points. So you better shoot to kill, which is kind of fun. My opponent, who is playing Sentry Droids, was like, yeah, maybe I just attack other figures now.
The thing that scared me off of her command card, and it might be unreasonable, is that it triggers after target resolves. Knowing that I didn't have that card in hand when she took the first hit, that means she might go down at the second hit if you're playing against hunters. Definitely scared me away from playing her card. Even though it's only 1 point.
Yeah. With her keywords, there's just so many cards in the same point slots that just feel more effective that you can apply to more people. I'm not saying it's a bad card. I think it's a really well designed card. It just never made the cut for me, and I don't think I ever saw anyone play it.
Yeah, I was always looking for opportunities, but it also didn't make the cut for me for whatever reason.
All right. Do you want to move it along a little bit? Before we talk about the command cards, I just want to talk about one more figure, which was Agent Kallus. Because he had a bit of a controversial ability of giving some command card draw to the Empire. So do you guys want to talk about your experiences with Kallus and how well that ability worked out for you guys or against you?
Sure. I actually saw him played against me in the very first game that I played of the season, which was entertaining. I knew his command card let you do that basically pull figure towards you, which intimidated me, which was actually turned out fine. It's thoroughly entertaining every time I see it. I love it. He's definitely one of the hidden gems for me this season. I didn't expect a lot out of him. His command card draw, though, I find myself falling on the side that I don't ever play it unless I'm specifically looking for a card that I don't have in hand on the off chance that I might get it. But for the most part, I don't choose to play his everybody draws a card. Just feels like I'm giving something to my opponent more than it is to me, even though I know that's not true.
For me, it just felt whenever I see Kallus and I see that ability, it's like it just feels like you're giving, as Ben said, that you're giving more tools to your opponent. And I know that people say card draw in Empire is too strong, but I mean, I really don't feel that personally. Like every faction now has figures that are strong regardless of your command deck, where it almost felt unique to Empire that their figures just kind of felt a little stronger stat-wise and that other factions relied on their command cards more, but that doesn't feel like the case to me anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm actually differ a little bit from you guys. I think that like when I've taken Kallus, I've always taken the opportunity to draw cards, just because like it's like at worst it's Zillow fodder. But I also feel like to make the most of that ability, pairing him with people that can deal strain or Thrawn, so you can discard other people's cards, or spies, so that you can negate or calm disrupt, or otherwise render their extra card draw meaningless, is probably like that's how I used him anyway. Uh, I think he's fine. And I don't think card draw. I don't think the card draw with the stipulation that your opponent is drawing cards breaks that by any means. I think it's like a well balanced ability. It's definitely like decisions having to be made there. But I also wasn't super hesitant to draw the cards. I was a little bit more liberal with his card draw ability.
Nice. Yeah, actually, there was an internal debate within the committee about whether his ability should trigger at the start or the end of his activation, because I was worried that him drawing both people a card and then playing strat shift was going to be really annoying. But it turned out to not be that much of an issue in playtesting. I don't think anybody did it, so we left it as is. But yeah, so I'm gonna kind of steer us into the home stretch here. I'm gonna skip this section because we kind of we've already talked a lot about how cards have changed through the season. So let's replace that, as Morgan suggested, and talk about the neutral command cards. And if there's any unique command cards, we can talk about those. We'll put 10 minutes on here, and we can just, if you guys want to just go around and talk about whatever neutral command cards interested you the most. We don't have to do a specific order. Ben, do you want to start us off? Any of the command cards really caught your interest or that you want to talk about?
I love all of the neutral command cards this season. I love them. I have problems with one of them specifically, but so starting with Rest in Peace, which might be in people's. I don't know. I think I'm the only person I saw running Rest in Peace was myself, and I absolutely love that card. It's a free draw at the end of you play it, you get to draw an extra card at the end of the round. It's almost worth taking just for that, but also it's surprisingly often blocked other people from playing, like redraw cards, like Force users and Rebels. They couldn't play Knowledge and Defense. That saved me twice a couple times. It messes with all sorts of people. Surprise droids, vehicles. It's surprisingly often that's actually useful. I thoroughly enjoyed Rest in Peace. It'd probably make it to most of my lists in the future, unless I'm running somebody like Afra, where I get to redraw a card.
Yeah, I want to just say I actually saw somebody in a game log that was playing Channel the Force to tutor out Knowledge and Defense to their discard pile, or to get to their hand, get absolutely wrecked by a round 2 Rest in Peace. They basically, like, they could have played it like 4 times and they couldn't use it at all, and that was, just want to put that out there. But anyway, go ahead, Ben, if you want to finish.
Sure. See, Rapid Recalibration I think is a solid droid card. Droids could use more cards. I love the cards they had already. I think it's another great one. Being able to turn a dice at the right time to the side that you want can be devastating to your opponent. It's the difference between a figure living and a figure dying. Feint, I have thoroughly enjoyed with 3 dice brawlers. It's just a very solid 1-point card. Let's see, Overwhelming Impact. I was really fearful that Overwhelming Impact was going to be too strong at the start of the season. That's not how it turned out to me at all. In the end, I feel like Overwhelming Impact is a solid 2-point card, but not overly powered or anything like that. It makes it into my heavy weapon lists. I haven't run it with Drokata yet, but I'm gonna have to try it at some point. Then I guess the 2 cards that I have small issues with, go with Apex Predator, which does everything for 3 points. Every time I played Apex Predator, it felt like a win more card, which maybe it's supposed to, but there's a couple times where I played it with a Rancor, where the Rancor never really, I've always had issues with dealing enough damage, and it just did damage, and it was hidden, and it was focused, and it cleaved, and then it got 2 movement points, and it was a lot. Every time I played Apex Predator, it just felt like it was too many things going on, even for a 3-point card. It just does everything. And then Assassinate. I don't know, it didn't get reverted. We kept it with the version that was IACP, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I don't know. Initially, when Assassinate first came out, I didn't really have as much of an issue with it, but I did have problems as it got played where it starts stacking damage and more damage and more damage. Um, I think that was a problem at the time. I'm glad IACP changed it to having its own separate little thing where it's only Assassinate and no other command cards. I thought that was a interesting but effective nerf to it. Having played against it and with it this season, I think there's enough extra defense on different figures. Well, pardon me, different figures that it didn't feel like even with the damage stacking it became overpowered. I think because there's enough figures that have little extra blocks or little extra surge cancels here and there, or get extra tokens, that it just didn't quite seem as overpowered. So I could actually see that one going either way. I'm happy it stayed. I also would have been happy if it had changed. That's all the neutral cards, I think. Joey?
I think that sounds right. I'll be honest, I don't think I used any of the neutral cards except for Feint, which I found to be disappointing. Which I know that probably sounds crazy, but it never it never felt very impactful for me. Granted, I generally faced a lot of like black dice lists in who I was going against, which Feint you generally want to use to get rid of a total block or a triple block, but it didn't feel as effective as some of the other one cost cards that I would use in the similar lists. Windfall, I just know it's just seemed like a worse version of planning unless you were expecting your opponent to have some discard shenanigans, which there's a decent amount nowadays, but I just didn't fear that kind of tech, so I never really used it. Overwhelming Impact looks really good for a 2-point card because generally you can't just stack a bunch of damage with heavy weapons or Wookiees. And I think it fills a nice niche where it is. Niche, who knows? I guess lots of people know. I don't. And then Apex Predator, I saw it used once on a Wampa, and that hurt. That hurt a lot. It is a very strong card that I think kind of flies under the radar just because people generally aren't huge into creatures. Like people were complaining that Wampas were just dying. Well, that's because they're melee figures, but it is a very strong 3-cost card, and I don't know if it's too strong or not. I just haven't seen it played enough. But yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, Feint. I seems like I didn't get to play it a ton. It seems like it does enough for where it is, but it's not like an auto include. Overwhelming Impact, yeah, it's a good card, but it's not overpowered. Rapid Recall is, I think, like probably what droids needed. Like I didn't realize how much droids needed that, and I think it's a really cool, well balanced ability. Rest in Peace, I didn't get a chance to play. And like it's the 0-point slot is just so competitive. But we'll see what people are rolling. I might try to work it into my deck for Saturday. Or yeah, Saturday for us, I guess. The Apex Predator, yeah, I had a Wampa. I had my brother play that with the Wampa, and then he moved 2 spaces up and then played Pummel and then killed 3 of my figures. And I was like, oh, that feels bad. That definitely feels bad. I think, yeah, Apex Predator is really strong. It does a lot of stuff. It does everything you'd want it to and more. I think Assassinate should go back to. I think the decision to keep Assassinate as the as the like don't combo cards is the right way to do things. But everyone who's heard my voice on one of these videos knows that, so I won't say any more about that. I didn't get a chance to play a ton of the uniques. I didn't get a chance to play Deploy, the Garrison, or Static Pulse. Definition Love is great though, and Blend In is great, and Windfall is it's there.
Captain Taro's rebalanced card's pretty great. I love that now.
Yeah, definitely Taro's new command card is solid. It's worth playing. Deploy the Garrison, I actually thoroughly enjoyed, but then again, I was using Krennic with units that had general's ranks on it, so all of a sudden they got 4 movement points and a damage token, or 4 movements or a damage token, which let me do huge amounts of repositioning. One round I actually had it round 1, and so it let me move all of my heavies 4 spaces basically out of the deployment zone before anything happened. It definitely put my opponent on their back foot just right off the bat, which was entertaining.
Sorry, I want to tell a great story if we have time. So sniper configuration, Cassian's card won me the game. It was just like an absolute bonkers game that ended up Cassian killed a final figure to get to 40, but it was only because my opponent was forced to block body block IG-88 with Jabba, so double move Jabba to body block, and then I managed to run to basically run my Jin into through Jabba into the end zone to get a beat on IG-88, and then finished him off with sniper, and it felt so good.
That sounds fun. I actually was disappointed with it, but I always saw the utility of it for the sniper configuration. Say, I don't think I've ever played Static Pulse. I put it into my lists a couple times for cards, and I also don't think I ever played Blend In, although it made it into a couple of my lists. So I don't really have opinions on those ones, unfortunately. Face Me from Kallus was... I love Face Me. It's just entertaining. Thoroughly entertaining.
So I want to clarify that the assassinate change, or the reversion, that was not the steering committee's decision. The steering committee actually put the card through to the ballot, and it didn't go through because it didn't hit the required 70% approval that all IACP cards have required from the community since, I think, season 2. So yeah, that was the community chose not to let that go through, at least based on the criteria we've set for every other card that has to go through the approval process. And then I wanted to comment on as the designer of Faint and Rest in Peace, those cards I would say were designed not to necessarily be like auto includes or staples, the way that like Overwhelming Impact and Apex Predator, those were designed to like carry and lift up those traits because they were lacking in power. Faint was actually, and Rest in Peace, those are cards that I designed to kind of cater to certain player types that are looking for a way to deal with things that they find annoying. So like obviously Rest in Peace, if somebody doesn't like dealing with discard stuff, like I think Carson has said that he is like that, now he has something he can put in his deck. And then Faint is the same thing for people that really hate dodges. That's just another tool now that players have available, but it's not so strong that everyone's playing it anyway. It's available for people that want to have an extra way to mitigate dodges and high variance in their games. So anybody have any other comments about the command cards?
We're good.
No.
Yep.
All right. Well, do we want to kind of take it into the last bit of like, giving you guys a chance to offer some feedback to the steering committee on how things have been run and the designs of these cards. I'll just say that I just want to remind everybody, if people haven't heard, I am no longer on the steering committee as of the start of this approved play season 5. So everything that is coming out in season 6, I have no idea, and I'm not working on actively. But it's always good to hear back from the players and the communities, especially players such as yourselves that play lots of games and play competitively. How's the steering committee doing? How's the ICP design doing? Any trends that you're not happy with, or stuff that you like to see more of? Um, Joey, why don't you lead us off on this one, and then we'll go Morgan and Ben.
Um, for the most part, I have nothing but praise. I think that the process is completely wonderful. The designs that are coming out of the steering committee feel, for the most part, fairly unique and fill places in lists that could definitely be filled. Um, my sole concern is kind of, it feels like a smidge of um a power creep, just a smidge. It's nothing egregious and it all feels pretty good. But I mentioned earlier how I felt that before IACP, that it felt like Empire relied more on their figures as opposed to the command cards, and that kind of felt unique amongst the three factions. And it just kind of doesn't feel that way anymore. I feel like all factions are getting figures that are solid, which is a good thing. It is a good thing. It just feels a little bit of a power shift that I'm not sure how to take in yet. In terms of going forward, I like the setup. I like how we have multiple feedback rotations during playtesting that we're able to work out any egregious errors like we did with HK and Afra and Fury of Kashyyyk. And that I look forward to whatever may be coming our way in season 6, whether it's just point cost, new stuff, doesn't matter. Just it keeps the game alive, and I'm excited for whatever happens.
Nice. Yeah, I just want to for some context. So I also play a lot of Star Wars Legion, and it's being currently supported by the Asmodee Atomic Mass games now, and they only get like rules changes and erratas and updates like I think like once a year, maybe every 6 months or something like that. And there is some vastly like broken stuff, and to just have to wait like 6 months to a year in a meta that is like in dire need of fixing made me really appreciate what the steering committee is doing, and the whole playtesting format where we all as a community get to play test stuff, and the feedback is taken very much to heart and changed quickly and consistently, and it just feels like a much more balanced way of doing things, and it's only becoming more I guess consistent, and like the structure that's been put in place has like I can't say enough good things about. So I really appreciate everything that the steering committee continues to do. uh, I wonder if there are things that can be done about the power creep as well, but that's like a mini gripe. And I just wonder about the tournament sort of snuck up on us. Like like it felt like there was nothing for a bit after that playtesting period ended, and then suddenly it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a tournament next week, and that sort of felt like it sort of ambushed us there. And I wonder if that could have been if more people would have been able to make it if that were advertised a little bit further out.
Yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed the season. I felt a lot of the cards were pretty spot on right out the gate for the season, but I definitely enjoyed the very structured updates to figures during the testing season. I thought it was a great season of testing and new ideas. The cards seemed entertaining. Even when they were broken, they were entertaining. yeah, I was excited to play Imperial Assault this season, which, I mean, I'm always excited to play Imperial Assault, but I was really excited to play Imperial Assault this season, and still am. Into the season stuff, there's so much content to test, and that's fine. I actually don't have a problem with that, but it means I couldn't test every figure in multiple games to really see how they work out, such as Luke. I didn't get to see Luke at all during any of my games, and I didn't feel great about choosing to either pass him along with his change or not pass him along. But I think that's going to get rectified or at least addressed in the future. Yeah, although there might be some power creep, it doesn't bug me as much because it's been fairly small.
Can I, so Ben, how would you, do you think that the issue is that the playtesting season is too short, or do you think that it's more that there were too many changes? What do you think the reason is for, because I also share that about I didn't feel like I got a good handle on a lot of the changes.
So having done some other playtesting in the past, it's not uncommon to have a whole bunch of stuff thrown at you, and you test all you can, and you kind of have to hope the other people that you're testing with cover the gap, which is unfortunate. But I mean, it also makes sense. You don't want to release too few changes. You would rather there be a larger swath of changes being tested, and there needs to be some way, I think, to say, oh, I don't have a valid opinion about this, or admit that it's I just can't make a decision on this because of this, such as I never saw Luke played at all this season. I would love to see him played, but I just didn't see him played this season. So
on that note, it's some people just don't want to play certain things. Ranged hunters really don't get my vibe, so I just generally tend to stay away from them, so I don't test things like that.
It's an advantage of having a large swath of stuff to test too, is that you're getting something everybody wants to test.
For sure. There is that, I would agree that there is that sort of level of trust. That was a really good way of saying it. So you're sort of trusting that the rest of the community will be able to give more of a feel for those ones that you didn't get a chance to.
I thoroughly enjoyed season 5. I enjoyed the structure. I enjoyed the new content. It was very well developed, and any problems were addressed pretty reasonably and quickly with opinions and that were tested or discussions. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was well done.
Yeah, I'll echo that sentiment. We might have these small gripes, but these are all relatively small gripes. Everything this season has been a blast to play in, and I'm looking forward to more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Were it not an official part to hey, give us some criticism, I wouldn't have offered them I guess unprompted. So yeah, you guys are doing great, and I echo this as well. Very, very much appreciate everything you're doing for my favorite game. So thank you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, well, I'll pass that on to the steering committee, and appreciate you guys coming on to talk. I think we're pretty good at wrap it up here, and just one more thing. I know you guys it sounds like all three of you guys are playing in the tournament tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably am, but it's going to depend on how I feel. I just got my second shot today.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. I don't know if I'll be able to live stream it tomorrow. I've got a lot to do. I've got a big trip coming up on Sunday. But if you guys save your game logs, I will be happy to feature them on the channel when I have a chance to get in and edit some video.
Sure. Do you have people running a stream?
No, nobody was available, unfortunately, because it's in the evening American time. All of my European buddies are going to be asleep. So all the what is it, the podcast?
Built on Hope.
Built on Hope. Yeah, the Built on Hope. You guys usually help me with that, and they're all going to be fast asleep during this tournament. So
It
if
could
I
be a
can stream
week.
it, if I can like get it set up and just stream player audio, I'll try and do that. But otherwise, I might have to do just a game log review.
Yeah, I'll send in what I can if I'm playing tomorrow. I'm probably running something cheesy though.
If you do the game logs, I'd be more than willing to, come back and offer commentary as well, because that's always fun to do.
Yeah, that might be fun. All right. Any final thoughts, guys, on season 5 playtesting and maybe what's for the future?
Excited to see what's coming next. I'm looking forward to seeing how some of the other figures, such as Scout Troopers, are going to get addressed in the future, considering they were already approved. But that's more curiosity, and I'm excited to see what comes out.
Sure. Play more generals ranks on ATDPs. That's you've heard it here. Hottest take of all.
Wookiees together strong.
K2 is great. I love running small lists with him and Tress and Jared together.
Stop stealing my list. No, those 3 figures are great together.
Okay, well, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks everybody for joining me. Thank you to Ben and Joey and Morgan. And this is TV Boy signing off.